So let's start over. This is episode 11 of The Hype. Basically, what I try to do with this show is I try to give you a little bit more insight into the North American pro scene. There's always been a call on Reddit and such like that for CSGO to have some more content like this. You know, you have all kinds of talk shows for StarCraft 2 and such and other esport titles. And you also do have podcasts for CSGO, which is great, but it does usually focus on EU stuff. So this is an opportunity to kind of highlight the North American CSGO scene a bit and get some in-depth information there. What I've done with most of the episodes is I've done a really deep and rich team history as well as player history and things of that nature. But what I'm doing with these episodes, the one I did with Semphis, this one, and the next two, is I'm really just focusing on the teams that are attending ESEA LAN at the end of this month, which is June, and just kind of getting like some insight into how they're preparing for the event. And what the future of the team holds after the event's over, maybe, and just kind of things of that nature. So that's kind of what I'm focused on, and that's kind of what we're going to do with this episode. So first of all, I'll introduce myself. I'm Dustin Moret. I've been doing this hype show for 6 months. This is, like I said, episode 11. I also commentate CSGO matches for ESEA mostly, though I have done some other events such as North American Revival and maybe some events in the near future as well. Lucky, you want to introduce yourself a little bit again?
Hi, I'm Richard Lucky Vasconcelos, and I play Counter-Strike Global Offensive for NetcodeGuides.
Right on. So, are you secretly Drake?
I mean, I have my moments where I pick up the mic, but no, Drake is secretly me. So that's why people
so you're
think
gonna have like an epic rap-off like Will Ferrell had with Chad Smith to prove he
yeah,
was really Drake, the
both,
singer?
yeah. Well, we'll both be attending when they invite me.
Okay,
When I
Jimmy
become a
Fallon, right?
superstar.
Y'all are gonna do a rap-off on there? Okay.
Yep, Jimmy Fallon's gonna see the light.
Also, some other interesting facts about you. I'm not doing a rich individual history of Lucky. If you want like a kind of deep team history of this NetcodeGuides team, you can kind of check out the interview I did with Finesse, which was like I think episode 3, where I interviewed Mousespaz before they went to the season 15 ESEA LAN. And that's a pretty rich team history of the NetcodeGuides team, I guess, going back to 1.6 days. But just for you personally, I know you're kind of a younger guy. You're kind of newer to the scene. I think, you're 19, if I'm not mistaken?
Yep.
So I know when you started playing competitive 1.6, you were probably like 16 or 17, I guess.
Yeah, 15, 16, around there.
Right on. So, how did you get into all this, man?
Pretty much started when I was like 8 or 9. My brother came home with one of his friends, and they played Counter-Strike on their computers. And from there, I just got really into not really into Counter-Strike itself. I got more into the mods. Like I was a big fan of like superhero mod, gun game. HNS, because I was like 8, so like shooting wasn't really one of those priorities of mine. So like shooting lasers out of my gun was probably like the highlight of my day or whatever after coming home from school or like playing outside or whatnot.
Right.
So 2010, 2011, I got enough money to buy my own computer, so I stopped playing Counter-Strike at 30 FPS. I started getting 100 FPS, and like the game was completely different for me. So bought my own computer, built it myself, and started playing on ESEA. Before even ESEA though, I started like playing in Cal and Sivo. Like I did play in those leagues, I just couldn't play enough. Like I was a backup for like a Cal main team. And I was like 14, like 13 or whatever. Like I played like a couple matches when they needed me, but they thought my voice was kind of annoying because it was like prepubescent, so they like cut me.
So how did you get onto like a main team so quickly? Did you just like know people or something? Or?
Not really. So okay, now it's 2011, and I started playing for a team. So when I'm trying to find a team, back in those days, I like made a post on ESEA like every other person does, like when they're not known. So like I got to know Facade. He messaged me on ESEA, and we made a team. And then from there, like I started getting more into team aspect. We ended up parting ways for a while, and then I joined another team like of close friends, and I left that team, and then I joined back with Facade. We played IM, and then somebody in Maine, Azriel, messaged me on By Design or Joker, I don't know who it was, and told me to play in Maine. And then I did pretty well in Maine during regular season and playoffs. Like I had one bad match, I think, the entire season. And then from there, I got into the 10-mins with like the pros kind of. And CS 1.6 died, transitioned to CSGO, played with Finesse, who's in Cutler, and Arya, and I don't remember if it was like N2G, and just kept playing CSGO, and then 1.6 just slowly vanished.
Right. So I also know an interesting fact about you is I guess your parents are from Brazil and you can speak 4 different languages. Want to elaborate on this? It's kind of an interesting fact.
Three and a half, kinda. I don't know. English, Portuguese. My Japanese is pretty good. I studied it for 4 years, and I've been to Japan twice. So it's actually like I can actually hold a conversation with any like Japanese person. I still think I can. I haven't been studying the language for the last 2 years. My Spanish is pretty good. Speaking not as much, but my listening skills are definitely good because it kind of sounds like Portuguese. So there's that whole point or that whole aspect of it. So like I can understand any person that's talking to me in Spanish, and I can reply to them with ease with my basic knowledge of Spanish.
Right on. So let's get to the meat now. So essentially, the way your team started out, or how it broke into the pro scene, was struggled for a few seasons in Invite when they first got there. But then last ESEA LAN, the season 15 LAN, as Mousespaz, it was you, Cutler, Finesse, Sobo, and Slip were able to attend the season 15 LAN after having a 10-6 online regular season record. So when you came to this event, this was your first ever LAN period, and then the other guys had played some 1.6 events but had never LAN CSGO before. So basically, all of you guys were rookies to a CSGO LAN, and you were just a rookie to LAN in general.
Yeah.
During the regular season, you guys, like I said, you went 10-6, and you would go head-to-head against 2 of the teams you played against online. So one of them being iBUYPOWER, who crushed you pretty much in the regular season, and pretty much did the same thing on LAN. So I guess there's no surprise there. But I guess the more interesting story is online, you guys had beat Homeless both times you played against them. And so when you went head-to-head against them at LAN, I guess, like, in some people's eyes, there was a chance that that was an opportunity for you guys to advance to the tournament and place better than what you wound up placing. So why do you think that your online results against Homeless didn't translate to your LAN head-to-head matchup against them?
Pretty much made stupid mistakes on LAN. We shouldn't have made. We lost a bunch of ecos. We kind of didn't expect like Freakazoid and Steel to do as well as they did. Like we didn't expect them to like make the plays they did, and we kind of played a lot differently. We kept getting up picks in the early round and mid game, which resulted in people swapping their places a lot. Like we had to like do things that we normally wouldn't do, and it changed our gameplay completely. And then, so in our first BO1 or best of 3 against Homeless, we lost first map, and losing first map isn't necessarily bad. It is bad. Like you should always be winning, but losing first map was kind of a wake-up call to do a lot better. When you lose first map, you gain this kind of advantage in a way that you get you know what your mistakes and your flaws are, and you get to pretty much start over in the new map. So we go to Dust 2, and we completely destroy Homeless. We end up going like 16-4, 16-5, and then like that's where winning a map comes into bad play, because when you win, you get conceded, or not conceded. Well, yeah, I guess you get your ego becomes a little bit bigger. Like I don't know if those are the exact words, but like you become more prone to mistakes. You start making these little things because wow, we just won, so like we're playing really well. No, you don't play really well. You just have to keep playing the same way you play. So that became really bad for us, and we ended up losing like a 1v4 to Steel, and then from there we just couldn't piece together gun rounds because of that whole eco. Like the eco demoralized us.
Right. So with that event, then, to sum it up, you did lose that set eventually to Homeless. You got knocked down to lower brackets, and you had to play against iBUYPOWER, which historically you had always done pretty poorly against. And I guess you're not the only team to suffer that, to be honest. So it wasn't really that surprising that you lost iBUYPOWER in the lower bracket and got eliminated. But there was definitely some criticism still, though. First of all, because you guys weren't able to beat Homeless like you were able to online. And then obviously some players on your team that statistically were amazing and their online matches didn't translate those stats to LAN. And so there was this criticism after the event going into, you guys being online, which is like an expression that's used all the time whenever like a team or a player just doesn't perform well at a particular event. You always have these accusations of being online, or sometimes it even gets more critical than that, and some people call cheats or whatever online, whatever. So, but my question would be in your own personal view, do you feel the criticism that you got after this event was legitimate, or do you feel like it was overboard?
There were some comments that were completely overboard, I think. Not directly at me because I did play not as well as I was hoping, but like the thing was that people target individual players instead of the team overall. So it's like Slip, Sobo, me, Finesse, Color, whoever it was that didn't play well. Um, each individually got targeted, but the problem is we lost like all of our losses were like 16-4, 16-6, like 16-3, 16-4. Like we got decimated by on all the maps that we lost. So when a team gets owned in the way that we did, you can't really blame one player because those players have to take the role of the other player that died and then do something different, and it results in them doing something they've never done before in a scrim. Because when you give up picks in the early round, like I said before, your mid-game to late round becomes really bad. So like all the criticism that we got as individual players shouldn't have happened because as a team we played so bad and we lost a lot of rounds that we shouldn't have. But some of the criticism, like it really kind of not enlightened, what I said, Arthur, kind of broadened our horizons a little bit to like different things we need to do. So like we need to stop giving picks up in the early round. We need to stop dying. We need to throw a nade here, throw a smoke there. So like we readjusted our gameplay a little bit.
Right. So, what about just the overall criticism you got as a team of like being online or whatever? Like, obviously, you said like the individual skill level shouldn't have been criticized because your whole team got destroyed, and so it's hard to like have a stellar performance if you're just getting decimated, like you said. But as far as just the team in general, I mean, did you feel that it was fair the criticism you got, or did you feel like people should have cut you more slack since it was y'all's first CS:GO LAN and your first LAN period? I mean, what do you think?
Um, Definitely deserves the criticism. Um, so it was our first LAN as a team. I'm not gonna like discredit iBUYPOWER or Homeless for beating us, but definitely we deserved everything that was said. We played horribly. Like there was really no chance or no chance of us defending ourselves because we, like I said, we played really, really bad. So it was all of our first CS:GO LAN except Sobo. Sobo played a LAN before that. He played
With
Flaming
Denial.
Rainbows. Yeah, Denial Esports.
Right.
You got to play NIP too, which I'm kind of jealous of because I've always wanted to play NIP. I played them one time in a scrim when they came for the first global LAN. We played them on Mirage, but that was it. It was a scrim. Scrims really don't matter. But so yeah, like I really do think our criticism was definitely deserved.
Right on. So obviously, after this LAN was over, you guys go back to the drawing board, and what immediately happens is, well, I guess not immediately, but pretty quickly, just to catch people up who weren't following the North American scene, it's Sobo and Slip, I guess from what you've told me, left the team due to either motivation issues or just not having the time to play, what have you. And then you guys wound up picking Hazed and JDM. First of all, I know part of the reason why you made this roster change was because people left. But is there something deeper than that? Like, do you feel like you guys needed a tactical change to improve as a team, and that was a part of the reason why you made the changes you made as well? Or was it strictly because people had to leave or wanted to leave, and you kind of got forced to make roster changes?
We weren't really forced to make any roster changes. Actually, we were forced. I'm not gonna say we weren't. So like if I were to pick one player to cut from our team, if everybody stayed, that really needed a roster change, it would probably be Slip. And I'm not saying Slip is a bad teammate or whatever, but it was just that Slip would sometimes get really like emotional when we played scrims, and like it would pretty much bring us all down. But those roster changes weren't. It was unexpected, but they were probably needed. I'd say we've become a lot better as a team, individually and together. Like we've bonded a little bit more. I don't know. The words are weird, but we've definitely become better. I would say since last season, like our record can improve that on ESEA, or it reflects that on ESEA, and even now in ESEA, I think we should be like #1 seed because we lost like 3 matches that we shouldn't have lost to like the stream team like twice or whatever, and like a match where we won both pistols and still ended up losing. So those roster changes came as a surprise, but overall they've definitely been better for us.
We're going to go ahead and start now. So for those of you who are watching the VOD, there's going to be an abrupt break that just took place. because I recorded part 1, which you just watched, and my power and internet went out. And so basically I rescheduled part 2, and so now we're doing part 2. So that's why there's like an abrupt break in this VOD. So the last question I asked you in part 1 before my power and stuff went out was basically asking you, you know, why did you make the roster changes that you made? Like, was it a tactical decision? Was it something you were forced to do because players wanted to leave? And you pretty much summed it up by saying that, yeah, you kind of got forced to make some roster changes, but at the end of the day, tactically, you think it helped you, and you think that your chemistry is better and that you've performed better ever since you made those roster changes. And that's pretty much how we left off before power went out. So basically what I was going to do with my next question, what I was planning on doing with my next question is what I'm going to do now, which is basically just kind of go more in depth with that whole thought of like you guys tactically being better than what you were. And so my questions would be, and I'm going to do this for each player that you added, is first off, what do you think hazed has added to the team since his addition? And my preface to that is I don't think I mentioned this in part 1 of the interview before my power went out, but I'll mention it now, and if it's repetition, it's repetition. But this is actually his first season competing in CSGO ever. I mean, obviously he has some deep 1.6 experience in North America, but he had never competed in Go before. Like, I guess most teams like start off, or most players start off in like, you know, a lower league and work their way up, or something like that, but like your team technically kind of did that over the past few seasons. But yeah, he just comes like straight from 1.6 to his first CSGO season of Invite and is already attending ESEA LAN like right off the bat. So first of all, did you feel that this was a risky move bringing in, I guess, like someone who was newer to CSGO, so to speak, right off the bat and putting him in an Invite? And second of all, how do you think he's affected the team? Like, how has he helped your team?
Okay, risky decisions. No. We've played with hazed in 1.6 in the past, and we knew how much dedication he had towards the game, so he like put in a lot of time and effort into practicing. And then when he transitioned to CSGO, we played a bunch of 10-mans with him, so we kind of knew how his skill would would transition to CSGO. So we saw that, we picked him up, and it worked out. So it wasn't a risky decision at all. I would say we're pretty much me, Cutler, hazed, and Finesse have been playing together for a really long time. So Brazil just scored a goal. Woo! All right. So so in terms of what he brings to the team, sorry, headset users. In terms of what he brings to the team,
Ripperoni's ears.
He brings another voice. Me and Finesse last season would probably be the two that talk the most throughout like practices and matches and stuff. So what he does is like he gives ideas. He watches a lot of demos. He like brings new tactics pretty much. And then like mid round when Finesse is dead, I won't be the only one talking that much. It'd be Finesse or it'd be hazed and me. So that entire aspect of having another voice on the team really brings out most of our team's like tactics, I guess, or brings out most of our team's gameplay.
So, like, what kind of role has hazed filled, like, as he's basically replaced, I guess, like... Well, I mean, I guess JDM's like your direct replacement for Slip, because Slip kind of opts for you guys, now JDM does. So hazed was like a direct replacement to Sobo, basically. So how has that changed roles on the team, if that makes sense?
Hazed and Sobo have two very distinctive playstyles. Sobo is like me, he's more of a lurker. So it's kind of hard having two lurkers on the team. So hazed he's our main entry fragger, and so last season it was only color entry fragging, so it's really hard to like get entries with only one person doing it. So now this season when we have both hazed and cutler entry fragging, it's a lot easier to only have one lurker. So pretty much my role became a lot easier and our frags became a lot better. So it turned out that having hazed as an entry fragger and Sobo leaving the team worked out for the best, because now we don't have two people not going to site. Now we have two people going to site instead of just one.
Right. And it's actually pretty good because hazed is actually statistically the second best player on your team right below Cutler. They both
Yeah.
have almost the exact same like damage per round and frags per round and stuff like that. It's like really close. They're 4 frags apart on kills for the season. So he's definitely in transition really well, like to CS:GO, at least on his online play. So I mean, definitely what you're saying is supported pretty well by the stats that are out there that we have. So cool stuff. So obviously that comes to the next question then is what has JDM really added to your team? Once again, maybe a risky pickup. You know, he had, I guess, slight invite experience by being a backup for Daps' team, and then he was a backup for Hold Mouse 1 way back in the day, but he never actually had like a starting position on an invite team prior to this season, but he did pretty well in main on a couple of different teams. So once again, was this a risky pickup? And second of all, what has he done for your team, basically?
Okay, in terms of risky pickup, yes, it was a risky pickup because we never knew who JDM was. He just messaged us, asked us for a chat, and we needed an awper, so like we decided to give him one. And what's risky about it is when you play main, you're not really okay. Well, I'm not gonna say if you play main, but when he was playing main, he wasn't really with a team, and he hasn't really been with any team other than us in CS:GO. So like he has no experience whatsoever. And main and invite is such a big skill gap when it comes to the lower place teams that like you do these little mistakes, and we definitely saw that in JDM's play, but we thought we could fix it. So these little mistakes can cost you really big rounds. Like you get a kill, you re-peek, you die, and now it's a 4v4 instead of being a 4v5. Or you get a kill and then you like push something else and then you die again. It's 4v4. Same example, but things like that has a really big risk factor when you pick up a main player that's never played invite before. Now, in terms of what he brings to the team, what we really needed was an awper. So he does get like those entry kills for us when it comes in, or when it matters. So if he gets the kill, it opens up the entire round for us. And if he doesn't get a kill, he can just hold down a site and then try to get 1 or 2 kills when the other team is taking, or he can like get 1 or 2 kills at the very beginning of the round, and we take his site, so it does help in that situation. One thing he lacks though is that he doesn't have a strong rifle, and that really hurts us. He just needs to get better with the rifle, and he'll become a much better player. And that's pretty much it. JM still does really well on our team, so I'm not gonna like discredit him for anything. But he just needs to increase his rifle play, and he'll become a lot better.
So you've actually kind of brought up a point that I was about to bring up, and like the risk factors associated with JD, and like you said, his rifle isn't as up to par with an op, which to me like puts your team in like 1 or 2 scenarios throughout the course of your match play. And I mean, if I'm off base, I'm off base, and you can say that, and it's not going to hurt my feelings. But I feel like because his rifle isn't as strong, it seems like economically your team is forced. Maybe not forced, but if you want to have a good chance to win the round, you're kind of forced to maybe force an op buy that you normally wouldn't if he had a stronger rifle in order to give yourself a chance to win the round. Which, and Semphis actually brought this up in his interview, because what I've been doing in these interviews is I've been like talking about the head-to-head matchups, right?
Yeah.
And when I interviewed Semphis, I didn't know what team was playing what in the first round. Now we know that, obviously. Which we'll get to that in a minute. But I was saying, you know, what if your team complexity meets Netcode head-to-head, like in the lower bracket or something? Not to say that you're going to go straight to the lower bracket. I just realized how awful that sounded. Anyway, y'all actually would have to meet like in the upper bracket finals or something like that if you played in the upper bracket. But anyway, so the point I'm trying to get to is like that almost like telegraphs to your opponent what you're going to do. So my point is how much of a burden is this like for your team tactically going into matches and stuff like that?
There's definitely a burden there. Josh really likes opping on like Inferno or something, or like T side of Nuke, and on those 2 sides it's really difficult to run any strat with an op, so that becomes a little difficult. But in terms of other maps, it's not really that big of a problem, because Dust 2 you kind of need an awper. Train, it's a really big map, op map, so like you have that. But thing is, when we're down numbers, let's say that we're like losing a map 0-4 or whatever, and we need to just save money, sometimes it can be a little bit hectic, because Josh won't have any nades, so he can't counter flash, or he won't have a smoke, so he can't smoke something off. So that becomes a really big problem. So, like I said, he just needs to work on his rifle, like DM a little bit with it. Still work on his op too, because everything still needs improvement. Nobody's really perfect at the game,
Right.
and he'll become much more rounded. And he needs to watch a little bit more demos as well, like all of us do. I'm not just saying just him, because I feel like I'm really picking on him as a player. But we all just need to get a little bit smarter at the game, DM a lot more, and then I think we can become a much better team in the near future.
Right. So I have like 2 more points about JDM, and hopefully he doesn't
Yep.
take this personally. But Semphis brought up like another really good point, and traditionally, or like it's more common for operas to have like lower senses.
Yeah.
So some examples would be like Sean or Mo have really low sensitivities.
Yeah.
Skadoodles, I guess, is like average. It's not really low. It's not really high either. It's kind of like in between. Obviously, there's exceptions to this. So while Forrest' main role isn't an opera for Nip, he still
Yep.
does pick up the op. And he has a really high sensitivity. So I'm not saying it's like you have to have a low sens to be a good opera. I'm just saying like
Yeah.
at least most North American operas I know either have like a low or like average sens. JDM's sens is like higher than Hiko's, and Hiko has probably one of the highest sensitivities in North America. It's like insanely high. Like I've seen
Yeah.
it. It's
Yeah.
absolutely nuts. And Semphis brought up this point, and I'm curious what you think about it because I never really thought about it until he said it, and I was like, wow, that's actually a good point. So Semphis made this point that when depending on how high your sensitivity is on your mouse, let's say you're nervous or jittery,
Yeah.
right, in a game. If you have a lower sense, I mean, it doesn't take much to correct your your jitters
Yeah.
because you're not like when you like kind of like shake a little bit with your mouse, it doesn't like knock your crosshair way off. But as high of a sense as JDM plays, like if he happens to be kind of jittery, I mean that could be like a 45 to 90 degree turn. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So is this like a problem? I mean, what do you think about this?
I mean, I've always thought it was I mean, my entire team played with high sense. Cutler plays with like 4 cents. I play with like 3.5. Hayes as well plays with like 3.5. I think Finesse is the only player that doesn't play with high sense. But yeah, Josh's sense is like 6 or something.
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
it's like Michael 3D sense.
Yeah,
like
that is a problem because sometimes like you won't really find your sense on land because everything feels different. Like you're on a new desk, so like your sense does change. Like, well, it changes mentally, not really like physically. I don't know if it's physically, but it changes mentally. Like if you play in a different environment, you'll feel different. So high sense is kind of bad in that situation, but he plays with a really, really high sense.
Yeah, let me just give you reference if you don't know what I mean. JDM sensitivity. Okay, think about this. Most people would probably use like 400 or 450 DPI.
Yeah.
So JDM uses 800 DPI. So that's like double, like a common, almost double common DPI. And he still uses 4 in-game sends.
Yep.
Or 3 or 4, something like that. So if you have 400 to 450, like imagine playing at 5 to 6 sensitivity. And he's an opper. It's really weird. So
I mean, he's gotten frags online, so I'm not gonna like say that he's playing bad, but
right.
if he doesn't transition well to lane, I think that's probably a huge factor in why. Nerves do get to you, especially in like the first matches. So having such high of a sense can really not be beneficial to your team. But I mean, I'm not gonna just tell somebody to change their
that's one of those things. It's like that
me.
big debate. Like it's like their personal preference versus like what might or might not be good for them. So like you have to weigh the options out. I think this is what's gonna happen. If JDM does well at this event, then whatever. Like this is a mute point. We shouldn't even have brought it up. But I almost guarantee that if he does poorly, he might reconsider. Like I really do. Like I really do think he'll be like, you know what? Or he might even do it like in the lane. He might be like, damn, like I'm too quick. Like I need to slow it down a little bit. Like I don't know. Like we'll see. But it's an interesting point. My last point before I get off of JDM's case, like I feel bad now.
Yeah.
Is he's been to a few LANs already for CSGO. In fact, he's probably played more LANs than anyone else on your team in CSGO. But the problem is they've all been like smaller LANs.
Yeah.
Well, I guess SoCal Revival was like a decently sized LAN with decent competition. But he also played at some LAN, I think, in Seattle. And then, I don't know, I think he's played like 2 or 3 LANs, if I'm not mistaken, with like friends, though. So my point is when you look at those LANs he's already attended, he definitely wasn't as big of a fragger as he is for your team online. But that could easily be like argued that, well, he wasn't with his team, so what do you
Yeah.
expect? It's just a bunch of friends or whatever that may or may not be as talented as his teammates in Invite, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know if you've seen him play on LAN yet, like if you've watched any of the streams whenever he was playing at SoCal or whatever, but I mean, has there been any thoughts or discussion or like any doubts or worries from what you've seen him do so far on LAN and stuff like
Mm,
that?
I mean, when he came back from SoCal Revival, we just like teased him a lot. Like, we made fun of him. So it might have gone to him. I don't know. But there is really no worry. I'd say like there is like that little bit of a worry that he doesn't have any experience in any major event. Like he's only been in the small ones, like you said, and even then he hasn't necessarily done well against even like considered the amateur teams or amateur players of North America. So that in itself is a little bit worrisome. But like you said, he wasn't with his team. Like he wasn't with us, so everything changes. So
Right.
we'll we'll pretty much know how Josh is going to play for the entire event after our Virtus Pro match, because that sets the tone for everything. If you do really well in your first match, um, if you do really well, I mean, sorry, I was watching the game, but if you do really well in your first match, it pretty much sets the entire pace for you for the rest of the event, because if you do well then, you'll do well in your other match and so on and so forth. So, pretty much against Virtus Pro, we need to play our A game and we'll win that and hopefully, do really well.
Right, so that's actually where my next question was headed. Is now I'm going to talk about the potential head-to-head matchups, and so
Yeah.
I guess it would make sense to start off with like who you're guaranteed going to play against, which is Virtus Pro. Out of all the teams you could have drawn to play against first, this was probably the hardest one, I think. I mean, I guess you could argue
Nip.
Nip's probably the hardest, but
Navi's
I
really good too.
yeah, but I just feel like, and Semphis made this point, and I kind of agree with him, that tactically, I think Virtus Pro is probably the strongest team. I think Nip relies more on like winning fights, whereas Virtus Pro has like ridiculous like smokes and flashes and like timings and rotations and just straight up read you and like have amazing tactics. Um, so I mean, the point is there was probably really no easy first draw for you except for
Yeah.
like Overgaming maybe, because I don't really know much about
Yeah.
them. Any other team you would have played against was going to be difficult, and you knew that going into it.
Yeah.
But I mean, is now that you know who you're playing against, like any thoughts? Was there any special preparations going on right now, like for that particular team, or what's your thoughts on that?
We've known we're playing Virtus Pro since the season ended, because you can just, just up and down, just put
Right.
every European team and North American team together and just see who you're playing against.
Right.
So, in terms of preparation, I have no clue what my teammates do, but I usually just watch demos, see like what they do, what kind of strats they run. But I normally don't tell that to my teammates, because then it starts making them play differently. So I just like keep that in the back of my head. So that's something that we've done. But playing Virtus Pro is gonna be really hard, because like you said, they do run like all these special tactics and stuff. But it's not hard playing against a team that just starts hitting a bomb site, because you just need to get the entry kills, and that's what we really need to do at this event. We just need to get all the entries, make sure that we don't die, don't give up kills, and we'll do fine against them. And then, if we do manage to beat them, I think we'll play the winner of iBUYPOWER over Gaming, I think, right?
Yes.
So, we'll be playing that. And iBUYPOWER and Cold are two teams that I kind of want to play the most, aside from NIP and Virtus Pro, because last season we lost like badly to iBUYPOWER. And that was when they had a weaker lineup than they do now,
Yeah.
on paper, anyways. So, in
I actually
NA,
think it's really cool that you want to play against the teams that are like really favorited over you, rather than like I'd rather play against a team I think we can beat. Like you want the
Yeah.
challenge. I think that's really cool.
well, it's just that we normally don't get to play Europeans, and I kind of want to be considered the best team in North America. So beating iBUYPOWER and Complexity would ensure that, and especially the way scrims are going, if we beat them, I'm looking more to the future in terms of tournaments. So, like more sponsors would like look at us. We get invited to like ESL or whatever, or the new $250,000 tournaments that Valve is hosting. So that's like the end goal for us, getting invited to those big tournaments. And the only way to do that is by becoming the best or one of the best. So iBUYPOWER and Cole, we really do need to beat them. And I know we're the underdogs coming into the event, but I'm pretty sure if we can probably secure one of the wins against either of them.
Right on. So, what are your thoughts on the other European teams? Like, you've obviously already mentioned NIP a lot,
Yeah.
but what about like a Navi or Overgaming? Like, what are your thoughts on those other European opponents that you might come across?
Um, Navi is gonna be really hard if we ever play them because they beat Virtus Pro at DreamHack, and they're looking really, really strong. Starix is really good. Guardian can also get like those really, really big kills like JDM can. So Navi is definitely a threat to us. Um, I'm pretty sure Navi's gonna at least place top three this event. Uh, so I don't know. They're gonna be really like like I said, every team at this event's the best in the region. Not really overgaming because they were last place in an invite for European, but other than that, every team, NIP, us, Virtus Pro, whoever from North America is the best in the region. So every match is going to be hard. So with overgaming, I personally don't know who they are. I mean, I know who they are. They were Wizards, but I've never like seen a match from them. I've never seen them play. I don't know what they do. So
Yeah.
I have to brush up on what their tactics are a little bit. Watch a couple of their demos because just in case we do lose to Virtus Pro, we'll probably be playing them. I don't see iBUYPOWER losing to them at all. So
I don't think so
we do
either.
need to watch out for every team because they're
Yeah.
all good. Like I said, they made it to this event, so they deserve to be here.
Right. Yeah. It's like I don't really know much about Overgaming either, and that's like my fault because as a commentator, I probably should know
Yeah.
more. But to be honest, they just don't really play any of the tournaments that I watch. Like I know they won some domestic tournament like EPS Spain,
Hmm.
and then they won intermediate in ESEA like last season. That's how they got moved up to invite in the first place. And they've won some matches online, like against teams like Virtus Pro and Navi, but
Hmm.
I mean, it's hard to really gauge that. So we'll just have to kind of see, I guess. But with that being said, we'll now turn the page over to like some of the North American teams that you might be playing against. So Complexity is obviously one team that is on the docket, and it's definitely a team that struggled this season. Um, you come into the ESEA LAN, you beat Cole in both the regular season matches that you played. However, they kind of got you back, I guess, by knocking you out of the SIVA playoffs by
Yeah.
beating you 2-1. So, with that being said, if you add it all up, they've beat you on 2 maps. You've beat them on 3, though I'm not sure if any of them were like overlaps.
Hmm.
I mean, what do you think? How are you? How are your chances here?
Okay, so with Complexity, they're notorious for being really good on land compared to their online gameplay. So I'm not gonna say that we're gonna beat them. I think it's gonna be a close game if we ever like face against them at ESCA LAN. But they're they're actually the team I want to beat the most because whenever we play them online, they always get really like upset that we're trying something new in scrims or something like that, or we stack bomb sites. So I kind of want to shut them up about that. That's probably my like true goal at this tournament is just to beat Complexity. I don't even care about winning the actual like event. I just want to beat them. And if I beat them, they really can't say anything to me.
Did
They're like
you
my team.
watch my interview with Semphis?
No, I didn't. But
Okay. So I was gonna bring up that I wanted you to respond to his criticism, basically. I mean, basically, God, I'm just like stirring the pot, right? Like I'm such a terrible person.
that's fine.
But I mean, it's public. It's on the video, so I mean, people are gonna watch it and see what he said. And, thousands already have, but he basically made the point that he would prefer to play you on land because he thinks you're really online. So, thoughts?
I mean, I'm not gonna say we aren't. We went 0-2 last event, but now we have 2 new players, so there's a chance that we aren't online. But if we, like I said, if we just play the same way we've been playing online, before the season ended, when we had that really, really big winning streak, then sure we can beat them. But I really just want to shut Cole up. They're probably the most annoying team. To
I
ever,
mean,
like,
is
play against.
Semphis right in a way though about
Yeah,
like
he's
no,
right.
not the
They're
online
wrong.
comment, not the online comment. The comment, like another comment he made was that your team takes a lot of risk, and so that either means that when you come to play LAN, if you take those same risks, like either they're going to work out great and it's going to be awesome, or they're not and you could get completely shut down. So is that like a fair statement about your play style as a team?
Mm, I don't.
Because
I
you
don't
even mentioned it yourself, like stacking bomb sites and
Yeah,
like
but
so.
like when people say we stack bomb sites, it's a little weird because we really don't necessarily stack the bomb sites. We on radar you can see the bomb, so if we see bomb, we usually rotate one player over, and then the other team takes a while to take the site because they're counter flashing. So when you counter flash, they're blind for like 3-4 seconds, and then it kind of like becomes an illusion that we stack the bomb site while we still have like another player at the bomb site or whatever. And there was just one time in a scrim where they took A on us. They said we stacked the bomb site because 4 players. We saw the bomb, and then the next round they tried doing the same exact strat, but this time they sent 2 players B, and that time we didn't stack the bomb site. They got mad at us for not stacking the bomb site. So it's so weird because they get mad at the little things, and it does get to them. But in terms of risks that our team takes, I'm not really sure because I'm pretty much a passive player. I really don't peek that many things. I just hold angles. I lurk. So like I'm usually behind a door waiting for my teammate at another site. I think the person that takes the most risk on our team is JDM. JDM likes peeking a lot of things and playing really aggressive. So that guy's a big risk taker. But other than that, me, Finesse, Cutler don't really. I mean, Hayes I guess takes a little bit of risk. He like if we're down numbers or something like that, he pushes something to gain information. So he takes risks in that way. But
Yeah.
I really don't know. I can't really say that we take that many risks aside from JDM.
Right on. So next on the list is Open Equal Free or Jumas or Mediocre Gamers, whatever you know them by. They've been through a lot of different names, but same roster basically. Basically, you split matches with them in the regular season.
Yeah.
Of ESEA. However, they did 0-2 in CEVO playoffs. I guess that was the upper bracket.
Yeah.
So based on like online results, it almost seems like OEF has an even bigger advantage over you than maybe Cole does. Like just if you purely go off of online results.
Yeah.
However, at the same time, when you look at complexity, they obviously have always played way better on LAN than online. So at that point, I still think Cole's like a riskier, harder to play against for you probably.
Yeah.
But what do you personally think about like your head-to-head matchup with OEF? Like how do you think your all's play styles clash, or how do you think your players compare to theirs? Like what do you think about playing them? I guess.
D-Board and Irkanji have the most LAN experience on that team, while the other 3 really don't. I mean, Miniker, Desi, and Shra. Shra just went to a lane. I don't know how well he did.
Desi's been the ETS as well.
Yeah. Desi got 2nd place there, but they're probably the team we can probably play the easiest against because their playstyle is also really passive on T side. So like we just need to not over rotate and just make sure to hold down our bomb sites, and from there it'll be like a walk in the park for us. So how our players match up, I think Cutler on LAN is better than any single one of them. Hayes, I don't know how he will do, but aside from that, yeah, I think Cutler is probably the best on our team. And so if he does really well against, he's probably like the key player on our team to do well against any of the teams we're playing against. So he needs to do well, and then we'll probably start doing well, and it'll just be like a chain reaction kind of.
Right. I think it boils down to this: like your head-to-head matchup against Open Equal Free is going to completely be determined by, and this is a story for both of you. How does your online results translate to LAN? And that's the story for both of your teams because you're both rookies basically coming into this. Open Equal Free being complete rookies, and you guys having 1 LAN under your belt from ESEA. So basically, it's like if y'all 2 play against each other, like most people are going to look at it as like the battle of the onliners, like so who's more online or whatever. Like I don't know, like I'm kind of making it funny, but the point is like to me this is one of the North American matchups I look forward to the most if you 2 do play head to head, because it'll really kind of give an opportunity for people to be like, well, we kind of know iBUYPOWER's bets in North America, and a lot of people are probably still confident that Cole is kind of like number 2 because of their LAN plays always been really strong, but maybe that'll change after this event, you know? Like if they do poorly, maybe people will kind of change their opinions. But like, so who is number 3 in North America? And I think that like a head-to-head matchup between you and OEF is what will kind of determine that. I mean, I think like the big story is because if Shroud and Mediocre play as well on LAN as they do online, then like It
Yeah.
would be, and you guys can translate as well. It's going to be kind of a cool clash. I think it'll be pretty even as well. Is this pretty accurate to you or no?
Um, if Shroud and Desi, or Shroud, Miniker, and Desi don't play as well as they do online, then I think it'll be a clean sweep for us. I don't see us losing to them in that way, because um, thing about their team is they all play well consistently, and even then we're like taking like 8, 9 rounds on them. So like all three of them are fragging super hard, and that was the case in SIVA when we lost to them 2-0. They were just out fragging us. But if they can't have that fragging ability on LAN, then I don't see them beating us at all, because of course JDM and Cutler and Hayes all have these super rounds, but or like super like frag heavy rounds. But I also come into play when sometimes my teammates don't get the kills. I just I like I don't know. This season I haven't like, even though my stats don't show it, I haven't really like downgraded in skill that much. It's just that my teammates now are just fragging a lot harder than I am because I lurk, so like their entries are working and it forces the other team to stay. So but one player is doing better on our team, the other usually steps up, and I don't think that's the case for Propinkle Free. But I think they're a good team. Don't get me wrong here. Like I think they're good. It'll be like a great match. I don't know. Well, but I predict us beating them. That's just my ego getting the best of me. But this time I don't want to come into an event thinking that we're going to lose to any of the North American teams, because like I said, I really want to be the best in North America.
Right on. That's a good attitude to have. So last on the list then for like head-to-head matchups, then I'll just have like 3 or 4 more questions about like your team's future, and then we'll be done. Is obviously iBUYPOWER's kind of always been your kryptonite. This is scrims, online results, and on-LAN results based from last ESEA LAN. This time around, they did beat you, or last season they beat you both times in regular season, and they beat you 0-2 at LAN. This season you lost to them on Train, but you did finally actually beat them in a regular season match on Cash. Even though this match was kind of controversial because of some like lag and stuff like that, so like I guess it wasn't like a clean win. Not that it was not. It was like, I'm not saying it was your fault that it wasn't a clean win, but people kind of look at it and be like, oh, I don't know if I can really count that, you know. Yeah. And I don't think you actually played them in the SIVA playoffs at all. So
No.
So there's no way to really use that for anything. So with that being said, I mean, based on the history you guys have had against each other last season, last LAN, this season, I mean, is there anything that points to you guys having a positive result against this team on LAN? Give me something.
There's like I'd say that there's a chance that we can beat them. I'm not gonna like say that we can't, because we've beaten them before. That was the first ever victory I've gotten against them. I was so happy. I'm like 1-9 against them now. But for LAN, like I said, like beating any of the teams like iBUYPOWER, NIP, not Titan, Virtus Pro, Navi, we need to just play our complete best. Like none of us can do these little stupid mistakes and like peak because of nerves. We just need to make sure that we're all on our tip-top shape, or else we're just gonna lose. So we just need to play our game. I'm not really scared of iBUYPOWER. There's still like that. I mean, there is that little fear of them like destroying us at ESEA LAN, but I'm pretty, like I said, I'm pretty confident against any North American team. I don't expect us to lose as badly as we did in the seasons, like the past seasons. So I'm just gonna go in, have no fear, and just completely play my game and just hope that it works out.
All right, on. So to wrap up the ESEA LAN stuff is, like, first of all, how have your preparations gone? I mean, how have you been preparing? How have they gone? You know, that type of thing.
Overall, well, not this week. This last week, our scrims were terrible. We went like 1-12 at scrims, so that week was a really bad week for us. But the previous weeks, scrims have gone really well. People have been DMing. We've been playing like a lot of 10-mins. We've just been playing the game a lot more since we're preparing for ESEA LAN. So preparation in that sense has gone well. I've been watching demos. I've been DMing a lot lately. I've been scrimming. I've been 10-minning. So my preparation has gone well. I've played the most CS I've played in a really long time, because I don't think I've had a break from Counter-Strike for the past like 10 months. Because we went to LAN last season, and then we came back and we had like a 2-day break, and then we had to play the season again. So Um, this time compared to last season's preparation, it's going a lot better. Last season we didn't win any single scrims before ESEA LAN, so our record was probably like 4-60 or something like that in scrims, and even against like the bad teams. So yeah, so compared to last season, we've become a lot better, and our preparation's been a lot better because Sobo and Slip never DM'd, while this time around all of our players DM. So yeah, our preparation definitely
I mean, how much
has
do
been
you
going
think
well.
DMing matters? I hear you bring it up a lot in this interview, and so like, how
Yeah.
much do you really like put weight on that?
Um,
Out of
I
curiosity.
I always thought DMing was bad because you either play well or you don't. So, but I've actually seen people or myself improve and my teammates improve. So DMing does have like a really really big factor in how you play, especially like on LAN, like before you DM or before you play a match you DM or something like that. But it brings muscle memory, and muscle memory does help because then it's just like entire reflex. You don't need to worry about
Right.
aiming. Like you can just, it's pretty much ingrained in your mind how to shoot and how to aim, just
Right.
point and click, and you have that whole sense of security since you've been playing a lot, so you don't like put yourself down.
Right. Right. So with that being said, then, how do you feel ESEA LAN's gonna go for you guys at the end? Like, if you had to like give a prediction, how do you think the LAN's gonna go for you?
Um, I don't think we're gonna ever beat Nip at this point. They have too much land experience over us, so they're gonna get first place. Aside from them, or when our, and I mean for our position, I'm praying that we get third, fourth. That's like my goal. Third, fourth. Of course, I want to win. So if winning is like a possibility for us, that's
Yeah.
like my main goal. Like third,
To be
fourth.
fair, this is always a stupid question to ask a team
Yeah,
before they go to a LAN. Like, how do you think you're gonna do? What's your prediction? Like, obviously, you want to predict yourself to win, but I think at the same time, you have to kind of objectively just be like, okay, this is how I think it's gonna go.
like like I said, my main goal is getting first place, but my second goal is to be the best placing North American team. So whatever the other NA teams are, one above them is what I want. So
Right.
that's my end goal, kind of, or my goal before my end goal.
There you go. That's the way to start. So with with that in mind, obviously after ESCA LAN, I don't know how long it'll take before like the next season of ESCA starts, but if history serves, it probably won't be more than a couple of weeks before
Yeah,
the next season starts after LAN's over.
another goal.
Yeah. So that's one thing that you obviously have to look forward to. But is there like any other lands that your team's like looking at going to? Because still a lot. I mean, there's a few more lands this summer. Like
Yeah,
you still have. I don't know what's going on with Vegas, man. To be honest,
yeah.
but I guess for now it's still happening. You have Iron Gaming in Austin, Texas, the weekend after ESCA LAN. There's ESWC qualifiers in Montreal, which is I think July
Yeah.
17th or 18th or 19th or something like that. Then you of course have apparently Sivo's having a LAN next season as
Yeah.
well. So, but I mean that's just you're just gonna play through the regular season and try to qualify for that,
Hmm.
obviously. But is your team looking forward, like looking at potentially doing like an ESWC or like a Vegas or like Iron Gaming or anything like that?
Um, at ESWC, no, because the way I see it, going to ESWC qualifier, it'll cost us, well, not me in particular, but it'll cost my teammates like $800 or something like that a person, or like together. So it's economically not good for us. Um, but at this ESCA lane, we'll see how we match up against every team there. And let's say we lose iBUYPOWER, I wouldn't go to ESWC to like get second place or something like that and
Well,
have to pay
second
for.
place still gives you a spot to
Yeah,
Paris.
yeah,
It's just
but
not paid for.
yeah, economically it's not safe because then we'll like um we'd have to play our entire way there, and tickets to Paris aren't cheap. They're like $1,000 or something like that a person, or 600. I don't know what it is, but that's
It's ridiculous.
yeah.
It's
So
like
that's a
plus two
player,
grand.
and then there's hotel fees. So the only way that Paris would work for us is if we either got like a really really sick sponsor or we won the actual tournament. But if we don't do well against the teams at ESA land, then how are we going to do well against the teams that we just lost against at ESWC? And then let's say we get second place, we won't do that well in Europe because we just played against the Europeans and we didn't win. So
Right.
that's the way I see it. So ESA land is the gateway to all of our lands, internationally speaking, because then we'll see how we do against them. If we beat the North American teams, then yeah, sure, we'll go to international events because we're the best in NA. So aside from ESWC, there's SEVO, and then there's other lanes that just randomly pop up throughout the year. SEVO's definitely a possibility. I'm not sure how many teams are going to be able to go. So I do predict us going to SEVO lane. I don't see any other team the top 4 North America are indisputably us, Cole, iBUYPOWER, Manajuma, and then there's also Exertus, which I'm not going to say they're not top 4 because they're actually really good too. They did well at the last LAN. They're just like Cole, where they're not as good online as they are on LAN. So they're also a really good team. But if it's top 5 or top 6 that go to the LAN, then we'll definitely all make it.
Right on. One sec, I gotta unlock a door really quick.
That's
sorry.
fine.
Alright, sorry about that interruption.
That's fine.
Alright, so I only have, I think, like 2 questions left, actually. Or really 1 more question left, but it's like, it could be longer, I guess, depending on how you answer it. But so essentially, you know, you have ESEA LAN, you have, you know, potentially some other stuff down the road. I'm trying to think how to phrase this. I mean, how stable do you feel your roster is right now? Obviously, after a poor performance at last ESEA LAN, you, like, as a team, decided to make some changes. Is this LAN the same story? If things don't go well, are you going to go back to the drawing board again, roster-wise? Or do you feel that your roster's stable no matter what?
I'd say me, Finesse, Hazed, and Cutler are stable. I'm not sure what JDM's thinking. We're not going to cut him or anything like that, but he can always just leave the team. We're really not bound by any contract or something like that. So JDM only comes like into our mumble or something for practice. So other than that, I really don't know what he's thinking half of the time. But me, Cutler, Finesse, and Hazed have always been friends for a really long time. So, and Hazed is doing really well on the team, and he's meshing with us pretty good. And he won't ever leave us. And me, Cutler, and Finesse have been together for like 6 seasons now. I don't know how long it is. So our core 4 is definitely settled. I don't think any decisions will be made, and that's all up to Josh if he wants to leave the team or not. Because like every team has like their bumps, but sometimes there's a lot of arguing between him and Finesse or him and me, and I know it can cause like emo-ness between players or loss of chemistry. So I don't plan on making any roster changes. I don't think any of my teammates do. So I think our season, or I think our roster for next season will probably be the same.
Right on. That'd be good, because actually you're one of the only teams besides Exertus that didn't change your roster at all during this regular season.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that you already kind of have proven to be pretty stable. So it seems like you kind of have that same mindset going forward. So with that being said, I mean, I think that pretty much answers all the questions that I was trying to ask. And I know it's been like hectic trying to get this interview completed between all the power outages and internet stuff that we had when we tried to first do it like a few days ago. So I'm glad we finally got it done, it seems like. But before I let you go, obviously, do you have any final comments or shout outs or things you'd like to say to the people who will watch this?
Thanks to all of our fans that are expecting us to do well. Big thanks to Casey Foster. Sorry. Big thanks to Casey Foster. He's been a supportive guy. He talks to me a lot. We get along. He's a great dude. If you want to have videos from all the pros in North America, go to NetcodeGuides.com and use the premium code. No,
it's mine. Code. Use Dust Moret's premium code for
Netcode. Use the coupon code.
It's
Team
below.
Netcode. All one word.
Nope. Dust Moret.
I'm gonna type it in chat real quick.
No, I'm gonna type. I'm gonna type Dust Moret's coupon code in chat.
So use Team Netcode. It was the coupon code, and yeah, you save 25%. So yeah, thanks guys for all the people that watch the VOD or the stream itself. That's pretty much it.
Man, just ripped my coupon code with your own. I like it. I like it. Anyway, Lucky, thanks so much for coming through. Appreciate the interview, man. Wish you the best of luck at LAN. I'm sure I'll see you there at some point.
Yeah.
And have a good one, man. Thanks a lot.
You too. See you later.
Peace.